بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الصلاة والسلام عليك يا رسول الله
الصلاة والسلام عليك يا رسول الله
وعلى آلك وأصحابك يا حبيب الله
وعلى آلك وأصحابك يا حبيب الله
الصلاة والسلام عليك يا نبي الله
الصلاة والسلام عليك يا نبي الله
وعلى آلك وأصحابك يا نور الله
وعلى آلك وأصحابك يا نور الله
نويت سنة الاعتكاف.
نويت سنة الاعتكاف.
Try moving a bit closer and inshallah Azza wa Jal, concentrate on the bayan. Don't look around anyone who's coming inside the masjid, outside the masjid. Just concentrate on the bayan, inshallah. Allah Azza wa Jal will shower His blessings upon us. Don't let any space, if you see any space, inshallah, try to fill that. There's a lot of space on this side as well, inshallah. If the brothers who are sat outside, inshallah, if you can come close, inshallah, after the bayan, the zikr and the dua will begin. So try coming forward, inshallah. Sallu ala al-Habib. Ameer-e-Ahl-e-Sunnat, Sheikh-e-Tareeqat, Ashiq-e-Ala-Hazrat, Maulana Muhammad Ilyas, Attar Qadri, Mubaligh-e-Dawat-e-Islami. He writes a beautiful narration about reciting the Rukn-e-Faizan onto the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The Risala, the booklet, method to become pious. Nek banne ka nuskha. In that Ameer-e-Ahl-e-Sunnat he writes that once a person saw a very scary creature in his dreams. And he asked him, "Who are you?" And the creature replied, "I am your bad deeds." He asked, "How can I get rid of you?" And the creature replied by reciting durood upon the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Sallu ala al-Habib sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Sayyiduna Abdul Mun'im rahmatullahi ta'ala alayhi narrates from his father, Sayyiduna Wahab bin Munabbih rahmatullahi alayhi. He says that a man from the tribe of Bari Israel, he was a very wise and a very pious man. He was known as the most pious man of his time. He lived secluded from the people and lived in a house outside the village, where he would spend most of his time in worship and remembrance of Allah Azza wa Jal. In that village, 3 young men lived with their young sister. Suddenly, their country was under attack by the enemies, and these 3 brothers decided to go for jihad. There was one problem. What about their sister? Who can they leave behind to look after her? After some thought, they decided that they will ask this pious man if he could take care of her whilst they were away. Therefore all 3 of them went to see this pious man and told them about their sister. The pious man strongly rejected their plea for help. The 3 brothers kept on begging the pious man to accept their plea. After a while the pious man accepted, but with a condition, that she will not stay with me in my house, but she can stay in the house opposite, which is empty. The 3 brothers, they accepted, and they left their sister in the opposite house and left for jihad. Every day the pious man, he would leave food outside his own house, and the young girl, she would come from her house and she would take the food and she would go back home. Some time passed by, and the pious man at this moment has never ever seen that girl. One day the shaitan whispered into the heart of this pious man, and he said, "Feel sorry for that poor girl. She has to come to your doorstep and take the food. What if someone saw her and fell in love with her? That is very bad. At least you should take the food and put it outside her house, so that she doesn't have to come out. In this way you will be doing something good and you will be rewarded for that. This whisper of the shaitan, remember Allah says in the Quran, min sharril waswasil khannas, that the shaitan, he whispers inside your heart. This whisper of the shaitan was successful, and the pious man started to act upon that. Now every day he would go to the girl's house and leave food outside her doorstep. A few days later, the shaitan again whispered in his heart, why do you earn more good deeds and take the food inside, so she doesn't have to come outside, open the door and take it in? The pious man, now he would leave the food not outside the door, but now he would leave the food inside the house. Time passed by, and the shaitan gave him another idea. For so many days, this girl has been living in that house alone. She might be scared alone. At least sit with her for a few moments, talk to her, she might feel better, and you will be rewarded for that as well. The pious man again got trapped in the words of the shaitan, and now he would go and sit with her and talk. In the beginning, the pious man walked, he sat outside his own house, and the girl would sit in her house and they would talk. But time passed by, the pious man, he would go to the girl's house, he would sit with her and he would talk to her. One day the shaitan whispered, look at her beauty. Look how beautiful she is. That pious man, who was the wali of his time, and because of listening to the whispers of the shaitan, listening to the ideas of the shaitan, one day he went, he sat with that girl, he touched that girl, and he ended up committing adultery, zina with her. The girl became pregnant and she gave birth to a baby. The shaitan came to that man and said, look what you've done. What if people find out? And what will happen if her brothers come back? It's in your own interest to kill this young child. Therefore the man strangled that little baby to death and buried him in a place. Now he was satisfied. Then the shaitan, he came again and he whispered, you fool, do you think that this girl is not going to tell her brothers what you've done? There is only one thing you can do now. If you want to save your piety, then go and kill the girl and bury her as well. The man then went to that girl's house and strangled her and buried her with this child and engaged himself in the worship of Allah. Time passed by and the girl's brothers came back from jihad and they couldn't find their sister. They went to the pious man and they said, where is our sister? And the pious man, he said, your sister fell so ill and she died because of that illness and I have buried her in such a place. Come with me and I will take you to a grave. So the pious man, he took all the three brothers, they went to the graveyard and that was a newly dug grave. And he pointed towards that grave and he said, this is your sister, make Fatiha. And the three brothers, they sat on their sister's grave, next to their sister's grave, they read Fatiha and they came back home. For a few days they stayed in the house where their sister lived, just opposite the pious man's house. One night, when these three brothers, they were asleep, they believed everything what this pious man said because they knew that he was a pious person and they believed whatever he said. One day, when these three pious brothers, they were asleep, the shaitan came into their dreams. And the shaitan, he said, do you know what exactly happened to your sister? And he relayed all the story. He relayed all the story. This is what happened. This is what he did.